I'm commentating live on Chess24 for the next few days on the Chessable Masters, the latest online tournament organised by the Play Magnus group. It's great fun, rapid play chess, really strong lineup, and I'm going to show you a game from that event between Shakh Mamedyarov, top 10 player in the world, and his opponent Abhimanyu Mishra, the youngest Grandmaster in the world. This is a real test for Abhi. Let's see how he gets on. By the way, I should say that my two Chessable courses are on sale for the duration of the tournament. You can get them at discount. So how good is your chess and how good is your chess 2? If you want to test your skill, rate your play, and improve your chess as well, do check out those courses. They come highly recommended, not just by me. So let's crack on with this game. Mamedyarov with the white pieces. I've been really impressed with Mamedyarov's play so far in this tournament. He changes his style. He takes more risks. He's capable of playing all kinds of chess. But at heart, he is a real hacker. And that's what we are going to see in this game. And a lot of his games. Doesn't always work, but it's always very entertaining. He loves attacking, has a real instinct for the attack. So it's a c3 Sicilian. And this is one of the pretty normal lines, but already leads to quite an unusual position. So this knight has travelled over from the king side to b6. Now c4 is a common move, but I mean, this is quite an unusual position already. Just because that knight has travelled over. d6 is a normal move, breaking down the pawn on e5 looks reasonable. And knight f3. And now c4 and queen e6 check. So a strange position after just 8 moves. And here, well, I think queen e2 looks like a pretty normal move for white. And then, well, the ending looks roughly level. But Mamedyarov played king f1, and this is very typical of his play in this tournament. He likes taking risks. He likes to somehow find unusual moves, unusual variations. And Shakh loves playing blitz, and he has a whole different repertoire in these blitz and rapid games. So actually, as I discovered, he's played this before. Actually, in the FTX Crypto Cup, which was a previous tournament in this Champions Chess Tour. So maybe Abhi anticipated this. He does his homework well. And Abhi played g6, which is exactly the move that Giri played against Mamedyarov. So it seems reasonable to bring the bishop out and get castled. b3. Okay, so we can see that this is a nice idea from white, basically just breaking down this pawn, and that will give white a nice center pawns. So no need to take straight away. You could do, but knight a3 just puts a little bit more pressure here. And now I think there is a threat because we can take and possibly play the bishop to b3. So now black exchanges. Of course, bishop takes would gain a tempo, but Mamedyarov, I think, plays in somehow a more positional way. It brings another pawn towards the center, covering the c4 square. So, you know, this is a strong pawn center. It's nice to have the rook on the semi-open file. And besides, there's no need to push the queen with bishop takes, because actually the queen is on a dreadful square, is going to have to move anyway. Castles. d4. So this is a very attractive center. It's hard for black to challenge that. So even though this king is on f1, you know, strange positioning, in fact, you know, there have been merits in there's a benefit to playing like this. Knight c6. And now this next move, this is classic Shakh. as I said, his basic instinct is to attack. And he makes a virtue out of the fact that his rook is on h1 and he advances that h-pawn up the board. So why not? If you can get in h5, then the rook comes into play. In fact, the king will be perfectly placed in that case on f1. It's not in any danger and the rook is allowed to get into play. So I really like this strategy from Mamedyarov. It's a Shakh attack. So h5 blocks. That looks reasonable. Of course, the downside is that white has good possibilities to use the g5 square, and bishop g5 comes straight away. f6, shutting out the bishop would let this one fly. So f6 just looks far too weakening, apart from the fact that it would block the bishop out as well. Queen d7, the queen steps back. It's about time. The queen certainly not on a good square on e6, but even now on d7, not great. Queen e1 from Mamedyarov. So what that does is just makes room for the rook to come across, and the queen, could have some influence on the e-file. Covering e5, for example, might travel up to e4, who knows? But yeah, it's basically making room for the rook. And up to this moment, we've been following the game Mamedyarov Giri from the FTX Crypto Cup. And here Giri played knight d5, but actually he got into trouble after this. And white's centre pawn's looking really good. He just about scraped a draw, but it was by the skin of his teeth. So, I'm intrigued. Abhimanyu is very well known for having an excellent opening knowledge. He prepares very well. He's a very hard worker. So did he know that they were following this game until the 16th move? It's possible. In any case, he played differently. Instead of knight d5, which was not the best move, he played e6 here. My computer thinks that queen c7 is a good move, but that looks quite scary to me. From a human point of view, that is not an easy move to make, with the queen being consigned to this square. And this is possible, queen d2 is possible, still not an easy position for black. Anyway, back to the game. Finally, e6 played. Rook d1. That rook coming into the middle opposite the queen. Looks good. Knight d5 anyway. And c4. Those beautiful centre pawns advancing through the middle. Bishop e4. Already I think white has a tremendous position. Just central control means that it just gives you so many options. You might push through the middle with the d pawn. You might go to the king side, you might play on the queen side, really. a5, yes, it secures the knight, but now this knight leaps into b5. b6, this bishop needs to come into the game, but this is now fantastic for white. Exploiting these pins, this looks wonderful. The queen is attacked, so moves to b7, and now, well, remember, the basic instinct of Mamedyarov is to attack, and he sees the queen way across on the other side of the board, caught in these pins. Well, why not just break the position open? Pawn takes pawn, h5. Here we go. That rook on h1 does come into play. And now, well, if the h-file opens, I think the queen is going to be able to travel over very quickly to the h-file. It'll be curtains. So f5, at least Abhi is trying to bring the queen across to defend across the second rank. But bishop g2, it's tough. It's a really difficult position. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and now there's lots of lovely dart squares. He's trying to get the queen across. Well, he does get the queen across, but, well, there are so many ways for white to play this. Rook d6, I like very much, hitting the knight here. You could bring the bishop in. You can take on g6. Queen d2 is a really clever move from Mamedyarov. So one thing is, he just wants to move the bishop in to one of these squares, and queen g5, and in combination with the rook, it will be deadly. So that's one threat. But there's something else going on as well, as we're about to see. Pawn takes pawn, bishop h6, attacking the rook, also threatening to bring the queen in, also threatening to take here. Rook f7. Now, Abhimanyu was obviously just anticipating this move, which is probably winning as well. But instead of going to g5, the queen came to d8 and he got him on the back rank. Really nice finish. There we go. And very nicely, Abhimanyu actually went all the way to mate, which pays Mamedyarov a nice compliment. I really like that. That's good. So, Abhimanyu Mishra finding it very tough at the moment in this tournament. I should say that you can see it has IM against his name. Of course, the software hasn't quite got up to date with this fast-moving kid. He is the youngest Grandmaster in the world. But Mamedyarov, on song in this tournament, he's not right at the top. Wesley is at the top of the standings at the moment, but Mamedyarov, an incredibly dangerous player. Do check out his games from the tournament. He is having a lot of fun playing with a very free hand, just enjoying himself in this tournament. Like I said, do join me for live commentary on Chess24. I'm commentating with Tanya Sachdev, and do check out my courses on Chessable as well. I will come back to reporting on the World Cup. The first game of the semi-finals, they were played on yesterday, on Sunday. They weren't the most exciting, but I will come back and report on those when I get a little bit of time. On Game 2, I'll be reporting on Game 2, hopefully. Thanks for watching.